Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the biggest Zwift event that I have been a part of so far. That is going to be the New York State Championship, Esports Championship here on New York. We have 2 laps of Stay Puft Pursuit. We are not going to be winning this. We're not going to be in competition with people. Basically, I had $15 and I spent it to be here. There are like the best racers in the state in this race. Joe is currently 7th in the world. Well, in the United States. No, he's 7th in the world in Zwift games, and then 1st in the US. So it tells you who we're up against. Listen, we are going to be doing a whole commentary on this race, most likely following the front of the pack versus what I'm doing. I'm here to make a YouTube video, basically, and have fun, I guess, and to say that I competed in something like this. So we're going to get into it. We have 2 minutes. My money is on Joe today. Just saying. He's pretty good. There are 2 racers we will be racing, and that is a Rick and a Noah, I believe. Those are the only 2 racers that are anywhere near my racing score, which is 511 right now. And by comparison, Joe is 996 racing score. I mean, it's out of 1,000. You can't get much better than that. So, we're going to try and stay with these guys for like 5 minutes, and then we'll see what happens. Holy crap. Here we go. And there's our race. Right there. Austin has a chance. Bauer has a chance. Fletcher, they need to claw back. But Joe, 8.8, picking up speed. Yost is off the back. Thompson, Aroni, Bauer and Austin need to catch up. And they have. He's going to drop back in the pack and recover. Massive attack. Massive. That's going to hurt a lot of them. Yost is putting in an effort, trying to come up during the recovery period downhill. You see him on the mini map. He's 4 seconds. He might catch back up. I don't think the front group cares. He's down to 3. He's going to catch back up. What an effort. What an effort. Unreal. He's back with them. Woo. Here comes an attack. Yeah. Joe putting on some power in a surprise spot. He wants speed going down that escalator, and he has broken the group apart in a surprise attack. I wasn't even watching that. 3 seconds. Chris and Lafleur have matched the effort. And Joe is continuing to grind at 6 watts per kilo. Oh no. And he is putting the pain in the beginning of this route. And remember, this is only the first lap. This is 16 minutes into the race. There's still some breaks, but it looks like Chris doesn't care. He's putting down, Joe doesn't care. Gapping number 2. Some people need to put out a power. Haney over here, 10 watts per kilo, trying to catch. Wow. Again, this effort by Joe is splitting Austin, Sotero, Bauer, and Yost. Fletcher, Haney. Here we go. Escalator climb part 2. Remember, this is the longer one. Lafleur, Laffer. And they've all come together. Austin, Bauer, and Yost are a little off the back, but they're catching. A big effort to catch, but they're going to catch back up. Let's see what happens here. And Joe with a big attack. Another one. It's going to be matched. But again, kind of the same area. Right after the escalator climb. He's just trying to push people to their limit without pushing himself there. And here comes a big attack. Ethan takes a big chunk of time from the group, but Joe is going to fire right past through the group. There needs to be an answer from the peloton, it looks like. Joe is holding out some power here, 170 beats per minute. But he's going to make the group work to get back to him. Chris off the front, but there is a group forming between Bauer and Ethan. I think it's Evan Bauer and Ethan, 3 seconds, and that does not look like it's closing. 4 seconds now. Solitero trying to catch back up. Needs a big power bomb. Yost, Bauer and Fletcher and Austin slowly falling off the back. It does not look good for this group. Solitero back up to 8 watts per kilo, 7.7. Needs to get there before the escalator climb. But I don't know if he's going to make it. He's the second off the back of that front group. He's going to put in an effort. Remember, the escalator climb means more towards the top. He needs to keep the power down on the top here if he wants to catch back up. And he's slowly getting the draft. And Bauer behind him. An absolute grind to get back to the group for them. But they're going to be able, he's going to be able to do it. Alvaro, I believe. I am great with names. You all know that. Catches back up to the group with the max effort. Bauer trying to get back in here. Let's take a look at him. Where is he? Evan. Take a look here. He has closed the gap up. So has Nathan Yost has also caught up along with Fletcher. This group has come back together. Austin, Chris, Evan, Alvaro, Joe, Jonathan, all of them. It's going to be a battle here. But these are going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 riders. 9 riders, excuse me, that are going to be battling it out for first place. If I was to guess right now, 24 minutes into the race, we're going to be having a battle between Chris, between Joe, and possibly Jonathan for the race win. That is most likely going to be our podium. You know what? I'm going to add Ethan into that. Ethan has looked quite strong. Fletcher is down. Fletcher is dropping. And we are going to be coming to our second KOM of the day. This is going to be the brutal part of the race. Remember, we have to do these, the New York reverse and the New York KOM twice, 2 times each. and we do 1 on each lap. As we approach the bottom of this climb, we have dropped Austin. Fletcher is down, and it's not going to get easier. We're going to be taking a look over at Joe here. Joe is going to take this by the reins here, and we will be starting at the bottom. Now remember, this is not the start of the climb. We take a right after we get towards the top. Let me grab my mouse here so I have a better thing. I might hop off. Now, Joe he knows this. He's not going to be putting a ton of power down right now. Only 6.0, pushing up to 6.5. 7.3. The group is respecting the power coming out from behind. Still staying with quite a group. But watch, they're going to take a right. And remember, this is a 3-tiered climb. It's easiest at its bottom. It kind of goes out to a 4 or 5%. It's going to get a little harder. Even out again. And then a big percentage towards the end of this part of the climb. The group is completely split officially at the bottom of our second KOM. Now, Joe's putting the power down 7.6 watts per kilo, around 450 watts. His heart rate is at 177. Jonathan, Chris are the two that are with him, along with, I believe, Evan. And Navarro is off. So is Issa and Ethan and Evan Bauer. I believe I might have butchered everyone's name there. Austin and Fletcher, like I said, already off. Yost is off. Oh, brother, 10 seconds off those of Bauer and Ethan. We now have 3 front runners. Excuse me, 2. Joe and Jonathan. A big attack here from Haney, I believe. One off the back of this front 4. It's tough. You have Chris is slowly fading, but he puts in some big numbers here, trying to catch up with the group. Let's switch over to Chris, if I can find him quick enough. Here he goes. He's caught up to Jonathan. Evan is battling with him. We are still on Joe. Chris has faded. Chris is gone. 7 seconds. Evan needs to hang in there. He's right off the back, and he has a chance. Now, here he is, Evan, right on the back of Joe and Jonathan. It's going to be a 3-way battle for first. Again, this is only our second out of 6 KOMs. Chris has 10 seconds to make up as Joe puts off an attack towards the top of the New York KOM. He's going to start this climb flying. But will Evan be able to hang on with Jonathan and Joe? That's the question. He puts out a massive sprint, trying to catch up with them, trying to get that draft. Chris is officially off of the back, 13 seconds. I don't believe he will be making a return to this front group. Let's take a look at what he's looking like right now. He is all alone, 4.5 watts. I think, you know what? I wouldn't say he's out of it. If he puts enough power in, he pushes hard, he could return to this front group. So keep an eye on him here. Again, we're going to return to the leaders. It's going to be Joe, Jonathan, and Evan on that front. Again, we're looking at Joe as our main competitor for this first place. He is the strongest in the group by far. Evan putting out some power here to get some speed. Look at him in the super tuck. trying to push just a little bit. He's not going to want to go too far. He's going to want to recover, as Joe is already pushing down to 150 beats per minute. And you know, you have Jonathan, who has matched every effort with Joe. And we were watching Evan on the climb, and he was able to stick with them. But he looks like he is the worst of the three here. Again, Chris is not out of it. He can be fighting for a podium. He just needs to make sure that he doesn't bonk and he keeps that power up. Because remember, there's only 3 in this group. Evan has already looked like he was hurting during that New York KOM. He has the opportunity to truly come back and possibly take 3rd place. Depending on if either of these 3 have power outages, that could always happen. And also just not having enough power to finish this race. It's going to be quite a battle to see if Chris is able to return to the front group or stick with them long enough where Evan drops off after a climb and is able to take that over. Right now, I say it's a Joe versus Jonathan for this race. These are the 3. Joe takes an attack, a big effort, big power. Jonathan's going to try to match that up with a 9.0. Evan may have been taken by surprise here by Joe's attack on the downhill section. They've gapped a second. Evan needs to put out a big effort. If Joe has enough, he might be able to push a little bit farther. But it looks like they're going to even it out. And Chris is only 16 seconds. He has not lost a lot of time, if any. 2 seconds over the past few minutes here. Some big numbers here up at an 8% little climb. Remember, we are going to be turning right back around and going back up the KOM the other way, the harder side of it. This is all about recovery. And Joe just is on the front, pushing his might, pushing his power to try and hurt Jonathan and Evan as much as possible. Now the thing I'm seeing though is that the drop group is still about 53 seconds from this front group. Now I don't think that a group effort could breach back to these guys, but there's a chance that if this front ever slows down, they could catch back up. Chris is back to 14 seconds, still putting out a heck of an effort to try and catch up. We have very limited time to switch over to Chris. Let's see where he is. He's all alone, pushing 4.9, 13 seconds. He is slowly gaining on this front group, and he has a ton of work left to do. Again, this is only the first lap. We've only done 2 of the 6 KOMs, but we're gonna switch back over to Evan here. Evan is going to be the weaker rider of the 3 that we've seen so far. His racing score is 949, which is the lowest, the second lowest in this front group. Jonathan is at 185, and then I said previously that Joe has a 996 racing score. He's definitely the strongest of the 3, and definitely has the best chance of winning this, as he is going to probably, I know he won it last year. I'm not sure if there was a group after him, before him, But Chris is now 5 seconds. He is closing in on him on this climb up towards the KOM. He's putting on some power, but Jonathan and Evan start putting down the power, the 7.0 watts per kilo. And Chris, from 4 and 3 seconds, might get dropped yet again. Not able to return to that front group. But he is still within distance. Evan now has a tough part. He needs to figure out what he is going to be doing here. Evan, where's my mouse? I don't know where my mouse is right now. Is this on? Ugh. No. Oh. Whoops. Now, Evan has been dropped. Evan has now been dropped, and his race is going to be with Chris for 3rd place. And Jonathan is getting dropped by Joe here on the KOM. The hardest KOM. Again, there are 2 laps, so it's not completely over, but he is storming back within a second of Joe, but Joe has put down 7.5 watts per kilo, and that lead continues to grow. 2 seconds now. I wish the stupid camera would not do whatever this is doing. Oh, we are first all right, I got it. Let's check out the helicopter. We can't check the helicopter out, but that has grown now to 5 seconds. Jonathan is in a race of his own for 2nd place. We're going to be taking a look now at the battle between Chris and Evan, because this is going to be the important battle for 3rd place, possibly even 2nd, depending on how hard Jonathan has left in him and his legs. We've only 37 minutes into this race, and it's been absolutely bananas. Joe has a 30-second gap on Chris and Evan. He has solidified the top 2, and he now flies by. Was that me? I don't know who that was. That was not me. I don't know who was just sitting there. Chris and Evan are battling for 3rd place. We are taking a look at Joe now, who has solidified himself as number 1 in this front group. 15 seconds now between him and John. 47 seconds from Chris and Evan. And now, slowly but surely, this group of Bauer, Slatero, Yost, and Ethan are going to be crawling towards that 3rd place. They're a bit bigger of a group. They have not been beat down as hard as Chris and Evan have. This is going to be something to watch. Joe has solidified himself in the front by far, and Jonathan needs to hold on. He has another lap. During this descent, it'll be an easy descent, and going towards the finish. Oh brother, what a race so far. 3 minutes on that New York KOM. Absolutely flying. And he can kind of sit back a little bit, not too much, but he can. Where are we? Do you guys want to see where I'm at? Oh, I'm on the KOM. All right, back to the battle in the front. Whew. we're sending Chris a ride on. This is going to be the battle. Evan not using any effort to stay with Chris here on the descent, which is going to be good for him. He's saving as much energy as possible. Again, we had 3 more climbs here. But they are 42 seconds from that group and blob behind them. Honestly, they need to work together. They have 41 seconds to John in second. If they work together, they could claw back. It's going to be a one-on-one time trial to try and catch. Now, Joe is completely on an island by himself, 20 seconds ahead of Jonathan. As long as these two don't play chicken with each other, they need to just keep grinding it out. "40 seconds now." They've pushed the group back a little bit. Wow. Joe is extending his lead on Jonathan, Evan, and Chris here, slowly but surely. 106 now. We have the escalator climb coming up here. 19%. Now they are returning, I believe, to the start of the race. They'll be starting the second lap here on this straight. A minute from the group behind. "41 seconds from Jonathan." He's putting in a good effort. He knows as long as he sticks in this and doesn't blow up, he will be getting a second place here. Again, Chris and Evan need to work together if they want to try and catch them. But with only 2 riders, it's going to be tough. It doesn't really look like they want to push too hard. The race is between them. They have a minute from the riders behind. We'll see what happens here going on into the second lap. We're going to take a look over at Joe, our current leader and most likely the winner of this race. It's a time trial for these two up here. All about speed, all about power, all about staying with it. All right. We'll keep an eye on Chris and Evan, but we need to finish our lap before Joe comes around. We don't want to be in the way and giving draft to anyone. I'm not going to be the reason someone loses here. So we're going to pick up the pace. Nothing is changing in the front. Evan and Chris are trying to work together, putting out some hard efforts on each side. But they've lost some time on Jonathan. Actually, it looks like they've lost some time to the people behind them. Let's switch over before we get to the KOM. They've gained time on the people behind them. Lost a few seconds to Jonathan. Lost a few seconds to Joe. So, quite interesting. Actually, he's dropped Chris. Has he? Oh, things are freaking out on my side. Chris is right behind him. We're gonna watch this. This is the first KOM, the number 4, the Manhattan Bridge. Here it goes. No attack yet. Chris is following Evan up the climb. Here we go. Manhattan Bridge, KOM number 4. Big watch from Chris. Evan drops a little bit. He wants the draft up this KOM. It is quite draftable. Only 4%. Jonathan gaining some time on these two who are battling. Doesn't look like either of them are going to budge on this KOM. It's going to be even going into the rest of the race. We'll see if there's attack going on the descent, and then we need to switch over to ourselves and get up and over this KOM. Doesn't look like it. He does have 12 meters on Evan. Has he broke him? He might have broken Evan. No, not me. Evan has dropped off of Chris's wheel towards the descent. I don't know if uh-oh, he needs to use some big power to get back. Here we go. Evan trying to get back to Chris's wheel. We'll see if Chris is going to allow that. You know, if I'm Chris, this is your time to shine. Push the watts, get Evan off, shake and bake. Again, you have no worry from the back unless you're really cracked. And Evan puts in a hard effort, and it looks like he will catch back up to the wheel of Evan, or excuse me, of Chris, most likely. But he's not making it easy. And he catches back up. No change. All right, let's return back to me and get up and over this KOM. We need to get to the descent here. All right, back to Chris and Evan. Here we go. We're about the same here. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Joe most likely will be winning this race. Jonathan in second. And we have a battle between Chris and Evan. That's me. All right. Joe has just started the KOM for the second time here up the New York City, I believe the reverse KOM. No, not Siri. He's got a minute on Jonathan, 2 minutes on Chris and Evan, and he is closing in with 12 kilometers left for his back-to-back of the New York State Esports Championship. He is the reigning world champion, the reigning New York State champion. He's looking to do it once again, and he is climbing this KOM with ease, making it look easy. 8%. Nothing looks hard. Now we are going to switch over back to Chris and Evan. They are going to be at the foot of this KOM. Remember, it gets up to this 15% and then it's going to be flattened out. Where it flattens out is the most important thing. We're going to be watching Chris here, who is struggling to stay with this group on the first time up the KOM. He was dropped, and Evan was the one who was able to stay with Jonathan, who was able to stay with Joe, and got dropped up that third and final New York's KOM, which is absolutely brutal. Evan with a big acceleration here. Here's the flat part. Remember, it turns right, and we are going to be watching a heck of a battle for third place. Joe has completed the KOM by the looks of it, or is right there at the ending. Jonathan's in the middle of it. He's not yet out of the competition between Chris and Evan. Evan is slipping a little, 1 second off of Chris's wheel. It's not the end of the world. He's 5 meters from him. Let's watch this from the back, see what Evan has up his sleeve. Remember, it's going to start off with a 7 to 8%. Flatten off, gets harder, flattens off, and gets even harder. Here comes Evan, really pushing the watts. Oh my goodness. Is he going to drop Chris? It might look like it. Evan's putting some power into this climb, but Chris is sticking to the wheel. He's got the sticky wheel. Now, it's about to flatten out. This is going to be the tough part of the climb because you can't get out of power. You need to stay up there. You need to be aware of it. 2%, 3%. Here's where I flatten out. Evan is going to lay off the power, but Chris stays on it. Evan wants that draft. This is the second hardest part of the climb. This goes up to about 9%, maybe even 10. Got to be aware of it. You got to stick in there. Evan, 2 meters, clawing on Chris's wheel. Not doing anything crazy. Chris gets up and out of the saddle. Here comes Evan with a little bit of power. Chris is going to be able to catch onto this wheel of Evan up the climb. If he's able to stick with it, it looks like he's going to. 8%. He's got this sticky wheel going up towards the flat part. Again, you don't want to get too out of the place. Here's the tough part. I believe this peaks up at 13% here for a good chunk of change. 11, 12, 13, 14%. Evan and Chris, 15%, neck and neck, coming up the 5th KOM. One more after this. Evan with a little bit of acceleration, but Chris is going to be trying to get as much draft as possible. But there's not going to be a lot in a 13% climb. Chris up to 6.4 real quick, watts per kilogram. Make sure he stays with Evan in the green jersey. Remember, getting to the top of this and keeping your power down is going to be important. Which one of these two is going to crack? It doesn't look like either one of them. Evan slows down just a bit. Chris keeps his watts up, and he's going to kind of fire back past Evan. Let's be aware of any kind of attack that might happen between these two. On the descent, they cross the banner. 218 for Evan the first time up, 231 for Chris. Going across even as can be. One more KOM separates these two from third place. It's gonna be an absolute battle. Neither one of them wants to wear any watts. They don't. We are going to switch over to Jonathan. We haven't seen him in a while. He gets down to the bottom of the KOM. 10 kilometers left for him. And he is an hour and 16 minutes into this race. And he is just on his own. He's a minute and 20 behind Joe. He's a minute and 10, minute and 8 ahead of the two behind him. And he is most likely guaranteed second place. But yet again, this battle between Evan and Chris could really blow up on this final KOM. And with that motivation, Joe may not be able to respond if it's too tough of an attack, just because he's been kind of TTing this whole race. Him and Joe were the front two for a little bit, but just like Evan, he was dropped on that New York KOM. We're going to be taking a look at Joe here, who is most likely going to win this race in New York. Chug. Chris with a little bit of an attack here. 10 kilometers from the finish. Excuse me, 8 kilometers from the finish. But it's not going to be anything crazy. Evan's going to match the effort. And they're head to head. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, an hour and 21 minutes into racing, and we have most likely solidified first place with Joe, second place with Jonathan, and third is going to be a battle between Chris and Evan here on the New York KOM. Now, this is going to be the bottom pre-climb. It's peaking up at 7%. Ignore the top banner above them. That's my own screen. But this is going to be extremely tough. It's going to take a right and go straight. Again, this is going to start off, the bottom of the climb is a 15 to 16% incline. It's going to start this climb off, flatten off, and you need to be ready for that second part of the elevation and the steep part of the climb. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Evan is going to take the start, the beginning part of this climb in front of Chris. Chris is going to have the sticky wheel for the bottom half. He's going to get a little bit of that draft and kind of slingshot up towards him. Neither of them are going to be getting much draft in the beginning part of this climb at that 15 to 10% incline. Evan really putting in an effort, but nothing much. We are waiting for that big explosive bomb. If we don't see it, if these two stick with each other, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. This might go down to a sprint finish if neither one of them is going to budge on this climb. But here comes Evan with a big little advance, a 6.0 watts per kilogram punch to Chris, who matches the effort. He's going to try and stick into this draft, and as it flattens out, it might save Chris for the second part of the KOM, and it looks like it's going to. Oh no, that's not what we wanted. We're back. Chris takes the lead on the bottom part of this hill, 9, 10, 11, 12 to 14 to 15%, 16 now. And these two are neck and neck, 480 watts here from Chris for a split second. The heart rate is up there. It's in the mid 170s. Evan's taking the lead. Chris is going to play sticky wheel on this one. It looks like he is going to try and survive while Evan does the hard work on this climb. He has dropped a little bit of power there, and that's not a spot where you want to do so. He slips the watts, and now Evan has a chance to really put himself in front of Chris going towards the top of this KOM. He's got a gap. It's going to be a second. Chris has to claw back, but Evan needs to know this. Evan is not going to, he's going to try and keep the power down. Will Chris be able to stick on? 17% now. This is the hardest part of the climb. There is going to be absolutely zero draft, and it looks like Chris was ready for it. Chris is able to scoop back up towards Evan, and now he is battling. No draft whatsoever between them. Chris slips down to a gear, and they're neck and neck again. Chris is going to grab onto the wheel and just sit right behind. Remember, this is going to flatten out, and then there's going to be another 10 to 11% climb towards that KOM banner. You can see it at the top. Here we go. Joe, 2 minutes and 40 seconds ahead of these two. Jonathan, 1 minute and 3 seconds. And they have gapped the group behind them by 2 minutes. It's these two battling it out for third place here in New York on Zwift for the New York State Championship. Evan staying in the lead here. Chris with the draft. We're peaking up to 5%. Remember, this is going to be a big one. A big effort could crush one of these two riders going towards the last 5 kilometers. 16% now. Evan with 7.0 watts per kilo, dropping the watt bomb on Chris, getting up and over the New York KOM. Oh my goodness. Has Evan done it? He needs to keep going, but Chris is able to put it down, and they're going to stay together here. Unbelievable. absolutely to their limit to the top of the KOM, together in arms. It does not look like this is going to change. If one of them puts down an effort on this descent, the heavier one could win this out, as long as they're able to do so. I don't know how much farther Joe has. We're going to take a quick look at Joe, who has 2 kilometers left to the finish line. But I cannot wait for this battle between Chris and Evan. We've been watching it for almost an hour now. Here we go. Let's get that sideline view. And in the super tuck, both of them, they're going to sit back 0 watts per kilo. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to go down to a sprint finish. But Evan is going to put down that micro sprint during the descent. A epic Zwift advantage move to get some extra speed. If he does it again, he might be able to gap Chris just a little bit more. This is one of my favorite techniques going down any big KOM in Zwift. It takes people side by surprise, the amount of speed you can truly gain from it. And he is not going to lose Chris here, but it was a decent effort. Hopefully not enough to put him over the limit. We're going to see what exactly happens as Chris is going to lead. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Chris has turned on the afterburners and he is flying down this hill. Evan needs to put in a big effort as Chris has gapped a second on him. Now, this descent has turned into chaos, but he's able to stick back on the wheel of Chris, who is putting down 5 watts per kilogram. Evan is in trouble here, needing to push down as Chris is just hammering away. They are going to stick neck and neck. We are switching over to Joe, who is coming on to his last kilogram of the race. Ladies and gentlemen, he's done it once. He's about to do it twice. Joe is coming up to the escalator climb. He is going to conquer New York City here in Zwift in 2026 for the New York State Esports Championship. And he has a chance to go back-to-back Esports champions here in the New York Big Apple. Here he comes up the escalator climb. The last time he will do so. Last time he was in New York, it was for the Zwift Games Hudson Hustle. This time for much bigger glory than just the Zwift Games. Currently 7th in the world on the Zwift Games. First in the New York State Esports Championship. Joe is putting on a clinic and he's going to slide over. Here he is, less than a kilometer left. About unbelievable stuff, ladies and gentlemen. He put down the power early on. He made people suffer on the Manhattan Bridge. He pushed his way through the Brooklyn Bridge. He absolutely dominated the first time up the reverse New York KOM, and then put the power down, blew Chris, Jonathan, and Evan off of his wheel up the New York City KOM. And he was all alone for a whole lap here in New York City. And for the 2026 New York State Esports Champion, we are going to be having Joe as he approaches the final point of this race. Bring it all in. Unbelievable, as an absolute monster effort. No sprint needed. No worry in the world. He's going to beat Jonathan by 1 minute and 43 seconds. There he is, crossing the finish line. A big win for him. Now we're going to be taking a look at Jonathan, who is not far behind. Up the escalator climb, has 1 minute in hand, and will come in second place. A silver medal from someone that only has 855 racing score. I did not expect Jonathan to be the one to come in second here, but he surprised us all with a hell of an effort, and he's going to be crossing this line second place after a dominating victory by Joe. Switching over to the battle we are all waiting for, the final escalator climb for this group. The speed is going to be high. We're going to push. I think the sideline view might be the best view for this. I'm not sure. Really, I don't know. We will figure it out. But we have Chris and Joe. Chris is going to push the watts going up the escalator climb, and Evan is going to put the effort towards the top of it. Let's see if it was enough. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan is going to have the lead out here. This is going to be a game of cat and mouse for the final kilometer. Less than a kilometer, you know this road. As Joe just took first, Jonathan takes second, and Evan with 5.0 watts per kilo is going to take Chris to the line. Again, I would not expect anything else but a game of cat and mouse here. You have to get that draft going towards the final sprint. But if you slow down here, you do leave yourself open for a quick slingshot power bomb. But Evan is pushing 5.7 versus Chris 4.6. But Chris is still in that draft. You see the finish line, ladies and gentlemen. What is going to happen? Chris is going to have to slingshot through. Evan has put quite a while, and Chris, for a big watt bomb, Evan drops the power and is not going to get there. Was that it? Oh, I think I missed the ending. I think Evan just, I don't know what the finish line was. Did Evan just outbeat Clark? They didn't even go for a sprint finish. Holy cow. So Evan is going to take second, it's going to go Joe, Jonathan, Evan for third. Unbelievable race. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the New York State Esports Champion. We're still on the road. We have 22 kilometers left. But wow, unbelievable race. Ladies and gentlemen, that was unbelievable. But we're 17th. We're going to finish 17th out of 24.